The glass blew outward. A concussive thud rolled through the parking lot, and a column of black smoke punched straight up through the roofline. He was 3 steps from his truck when it happened. For half a second, nobody moved. Then the fire alarm inside the grocery store began screaming. That flat mechanical wail that never sounds urgent enough until it's too late. People poured out through the automatic doors, some running, some frozen. Carts abandoned mid-aisle. He stood there in jeans and a faded department hoodie, keys still in his hand. No radio, no gear, no helmet. Just muscle memory and a feeling in his chest that tightened the moment he saw smoke turning thick and oily. Someone yelled, "There's people still inside." He didn't think about policy. He didn't think about being off duty. He thought about the way fire moves through commercial buildings, fast, wide, and unforgiving. He thought about how much fuel a grocery store holds above the ceiling tiles. And he thought about how long it would take the first engine to get there. Too long. He dropped his keys on the asphalt and started walking toward the doors. Inside, the air changed immediately, cool to hot in 2 steps. The smell hit next. Burning plastic, electrical insulation, something sweet and wrong. The lights were still on, but the smoke was already banking down from the ceiling, gray at first, then darkening by the second. "Fire department!" he shouted, voice raw without an SCBA to flatten it. "If you can hear me, move toward my voice!" A woman stumbled out of an aisle, clutching her arm, eyes wide and unfocused. He grabbed her by the shoulder, turned her, and pointed her straight toward the exit. "Go, don't stop." She went, half running, half falling. The alarms echoed off the concrete floors, disorienting. He stayed low, one hand brushing the shelving as he moved deeper. Somewhere toward the back of the store, something popped, a transformer or a breaker, and the lights flickered. He knew that sound. He didn't like it. A man's voice rose out of the smoke, coughing, panicked. "Help! I can't see!" He followed it, knees bent, breathing shallow to keep the smoke out of his lungs. His eyes burned already. This was borrowed time, and he knew it. He found the man kneeling between the freezer cases, hands on the floor like he'd lost the world above him. The firefighter hooked an arm under his shoulder and hauled him up. "Stay with me." Short breaths. "Follow my voice." They moved together, slow but steady. The smoke thickened, turning from gray to black, heat pressing down now. Not enough to blister, but enough to warn. They were halfway back when a dull crack rolled overhead. Ceiling tile sagged. Something shifted above the aisle, weight redistributing. His pulse spiked. He pushed the man ahead of him. "Go, don't look back." The exit appeared like a washed-out rectangle through the haze. Fresh air rushed in as the door slid open, and the man collapsed just outside, coughing violently. The firefighter stepped back onto the sidewalk and sucked in a lungful of clean air. It burned. He bent over, hands on his knees, just for a second. Just long enough to hear it. A new sound from inside, sharper, faster. Fire finding oxygen, moving. And from somewhere deeper in the store, a child started crying. He straightened up and turned back toward the smoke. The doors slid open again. Heat rolled out in a low, angry wave. And the smoke was darker now, heavier, faster, alive. He ducked back inside without hesitation. No gear meant no second chances, and he knew it. Every breath was a trade he wouldn't get back. He pulled his hoodie up over his mouth, already useless, but instinct demanded something between his lungs and the fire. "Fire department," he shouted again, though his voice cracked this time. "Kid, if you can hear me, keep making noise." The crying was faint, somewhere past the produce section. The store felt bigger than it had minutes ago, aisles stretching, visibility shrinking to arm's length. The alarms blended with the roar of the fire now, a deeper sound rising from the rear. Probably the loading dock or electrical room. That was bad. Fires back there had room to run. He stayed low, one hand on the floor, one on the shelf, counting steps like he'd done 100 times in training. His eyes streamed tears he couldn't wipe away. Each breath tasted metallic. The crying came again. Closer, sharper. He found the kid crouched behind an end cap, small hands clamped over his ears. Maybe 8 years old. Maybe younger. The boy looked up when he heard boots scrape concrete. "I'm here," the firefighter said, softer now. "I got you." The kid didn't move. Shock. Normal. He reached out slowly, the way he'd learned to do with scared animals and worse, scared people. "Hey, look at me. We're going to crawl, okay? Just like a game." The ceiling above them groaned. He didn't look up. He didn't have to. He wrapped one arm around the boy's chest and turned them both toward the front. The smoke was down to waist level now. Heat pressed harder, especially along the left side. B-side exposure pushing in. Halfway back, the fire announced itself properly. A sudden whoosh rolled through the store as something vented. A window failed, or a door blew. The smoke lifted and surged forward all at once, replaced by a pulse of flame licking across the ceiling tiles. He felt it on the back of his neck. "Move," he said, voice tight. "Now." They crawled. Fast. The boy sobbed into his sleeve, body shaking, but he moved. The firefighter's chest burned, lungs screaming. His vision tunneled. This was the edge, the place instructors warned about but never quite described right. They were 10 feet from the exit when a freezer case behind them shattered. Glass burst. Cold air dumped out, dragging smoke and flame sideways. The blast knocked him forward. His shoulders slammed the floor. The boy slipped from his grip. For one terrifying second, he lost him. "Hey!" he yelled, reaching blindly. Small fingers closed around his wrist. He pulled, hauled them both upright, and shoved through the doors as they opened on their own, sensors blinded by smoke. They tumbled out onto the sidewalk together. Fresh air hit like a punch. The boy vomited. The firefighter dropped to one knee, coughing so hard his vision went white. Somewhere nearby, someone wrapped a blanket around the kid. A bystander grabbed his arm. "Man, you okay?" He nodded without looking at him. His ears rang, his hands shook now that they didn't have a job. That's when he heard the sirens. First one, then another, engines coming in hot. He stood unsteady, watching smoke boil harder from the roofline. Fire was winning inside now. He could see it in the color, the speed. An officer from the first-in engine jumped off the rig and locked eyes with him. "You go in there?" the officer asked. He nodded once. The officer swore under his breath, because from somewhere inside the store, deeper than before, another alarm started ringing. Not the buildings, a pass device. The pass alarm cut through everything, sharp, rhythmic, human, and it was coming from deep inside the smoke. Every firefighter on scene heard it at the same time. The off-duty firefighter felt his stomach drop. Pass devices didn't activate on their own, not like that. It meant someone was down, not moving. And given the timing, there was only one explanation that made sense. A store employee, maybe security, maybe someone who'd tried to help and gotten trapped. The first engine company was already masking up, stretching a line toward the Alpha side. The officer snapped orders fast, controlled, but there was an edge now. Interior attack, primary search to the rear, ventilation coordinated only. The off-duty firefighter stepped forward without thinking. "I know the layout," he said, voice still hoarse. "The alarm's back near the loading dock." The officer looked him up and down, jeans, hoodie, smoke-stained face, eyes bloodshot. Then he shook his head. "Not like that. You're done." That should have been the end of it, but the pass alarm chirped again, weaker this time, intermittent. The officer hesitated, just a fraction. "You ride with me," he said finally. "Stay behind the line. You point, you don't push." They masked up fast. The world narrowed to the hiss of air, the rubber seal snapping against skin. When the door opened, heat rolled out harder than before. Flame showed now, active fire pushing overhead, licking across exposed ductwork. The hose charged behind them, a living thing against the floor. Inside, visibility was near zero. The thermal imager painted ghosts, shelving, coolers, hotspots blooming orange and white. The pass alarm showed up as a pulsing shape near the rear wall. They moved. Every step felt heavier now, smoke thick enough to chew. The fire had extended into the ceiling void. You could hear it running, a freight train above their heads. The officer called it. "Watch the overhead. This thing's breathing." They reached the loading dock corridor. Heat spiked violently. The imager flared white near a steel door that had warped inward. There, a body on the floor. The firefighter recognized the uniform before the officer did. Dark shirt, reflective striping from a security jacket. The pass device was screaming from the man's chest. His helmet was off. SCBA bottle nearly empty. They dropped to him, fast and practiced. The officer killed the alarm, checked the mask seal, shook his shoulder. No response. "Get him up," the officer said. "Now." They dragged him together, but the floor shifted beneath their knees. A low, ominous creak rolled through the corridor. The firefighter felt it through his gloves. Structural compromise. The officer saw it too. "We're leaving, now!" They hauled again. The hose team behind them opened the line, knocking flame back just enough to buy seconds. Water turned to steam instantly, filling the space with white chaos. The ceiling gave a warning groan. Long, deep, final. The firefighter locked eyes with the officer through fogged masks. Both of them knew. They weren't all getting out if they waited. The officer made a decision that would sit with him forever. "You take him," he said. "I'll cover." Before the firefighter could argue, the officer turned back toward the fire, planting himself between the collapse zone and the exit, opening the line wide. The firefighter dragged the unconscious man backward, muscles screaming, boots slipping. The heat surged again, violent and hungry. Behind him, something cracked. Not a pop. A tear. And then the ceiling started to come down. The ceiling failed in sections. Metal screamed as it twisted, and the fire dropped like it had been waiting. The firefighter felt the blast of heat hit his back as debris crashed down behind him. The hose stream disappeared in a cloud of steam and dust. For a split second, everything turned white. Not smoke, not fire, just chaos swallowing the hallway. He didn't stop pulling. The security guard was dead weight now, SCBA snagging on the floor, boots catching on something unseen. The firefighter leaned back, planted his heels, and hauled with everything left in his legs. His low air alarm chirped, a sharp, unwanted reminder that time had finally run out. "Almost there," he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. Another section of ceiling collapsed where they'd just been. The sound followed him, heavy, final, the kind you don't argue with. Hands reached out of the smoke. Two firefighters grabbed the security guard first, then him, dragging all three clear of the corridor as the officer stumbled out behind them, coughing but upright. The collapse chased them, stopping just short of the doorway like it knew the rules. They hit fresh air hard. Masks came off. Someone laid the security guard flat. Medics were already moving, efficient, quiet. The firefighter dropped to a knee again, chest heaving, hands shaking uncontrollably now that the job was over. He watched the roof sag and burn, black smoke punching skyward, flames visible through the gaps. The store was lost. Everyone on scene knew it. The officer came over, face streaked with soot, eyes tired in a way that had nothing to do with the fire. "You saved lives today," he said simply. The firefighter shook his head once. "We did." The officer didn't argue. A medic checked his vitals, asked him questions he answered automatically. His lungs hurt. His throat felt raw. He'd be sore tomorrow, if tomorrow came easy. The security guard coughed suddenly, shallow but real. A medic leaned in fast, voice sharp with renewed focus. "He's breathing, we've got a pulse." The firefighter looked away, emotion catching unexpectedly in his chest. Not relief exactly, just release. Later, long after the fire was knocked down and the crowd thinned, he stood by his truck again. His keys were still on the asphalt where he'd dropped them, untouched. The store was a ruin now, wet, blackened, steaming quietly in the cold air. Engines idled. Firefighters moved slower, voices lower. Someone asked him if he was a hero. He didn't answer. He picked up his keys, got into his truck, and sat there for a moment with the engine off. Hands on the wheel, breathing steady, letting the noise fade. Tomorrow he'd be off duty again. But tonight, when the fire showed up unannounced, he'd done what firefighters do. He went in,